All right, so not a typical day. It's not a office day for me, and CrossFit this morning was going to be 40 minutes of cardio, and right now I'm not in because I'm getting over my cold. It's not going to be great for me to just go do that. So I figured I'd do one from home. I wanted to talk through something the coding lifestyle commented as a question that I think is a good one. I think it's interesting, and the question is thoughts on leaving a healthy team for more money and growth at another company. And I do think that's interesting. And they said, also, these videos are awesome. Keep it up. Love it. So thank you very much. I appreciate you being here. It's a lot of fun for me to do this. It's enjoyable. So I appreciate all the questions. And with that said, if other folks have questions, if you're watching this, if you're listening, leave a comment if you want me to talk through something related to career development, software engineering. I'm happy to go through it from my experience. I have worked at startups. I work at Microsoft currently as an engineering manager. I've been managing engineering teams for over 12 years, and I have opinions on things, so I'm happy to share them. And of course, if you want things to be anonymous when you send them in, you don't want to comment, that's fine. Just leave me or send me a message. Look for Dev Leader on social media. That is my main channel. And I should be doing this more often, but I should mention my Dev Leader channel does have a live stream, so it's very much like what you're watching right now, but you can literally chat with me and I'll answer questions. So that's on Mondays at 7 Pacific. It's going to be kind of weird in the upcoming weeks here just because of holidays and stuff with Christmas and all that. I'm at a computer. I should check what Monday is. Okay, it's the 23rd. I'll still do a live stream on the 23rd. If it was Christmas Eve, probably not, but we'll do one. So let's get into it. So thoughts on leaving a healthy team for more money and growth at another company. So this is, of course, something that I can't answer for other people. I think it's an important question. I think people should be asking this question to themselves to think about where they want to be and where they want to be headed. So I know some people when they talk about like money can be a touchy subject for people because like if they're say two jobs are equal or maybe you're trying to figure out if they're equal but one has more money, like is it wrong to go after more money? Some people it's I think a lot of it's based on people have different values or they're at different stages in their life, different walks of life. And when people talk about this stuff, some people get very polarized or triggered by like, oh, like clearly if some place is offering you more money, they're like trying to trick you or it shouldn't always be about money. Other people are like, hey, money's everything. Like there's no such thing as like family at work, like million different takes on this. I can't imagine people in agreement about this kind of stuff. So I realize with this question, I can't answer this in a way where people are gonna like I'm gonna have everyone agreeing. This is probably gonna be one of those videos that I get a lot of thumbs down on because inevitably there's gonna be a group of people that's like, I disagree with that. So I just have to kind of give you my opinion. But what I want to say as sort of a meta point as I go through this is like I do fundamentally think that this is number one, an important thing to ask yourself. One sec. Still getting over the cold. I think it's important to ask yourself this. And I think that this is something that can and will change for you in your career. So just because one day, say today, you're like, oh, you know what? Money's not everything. I love where I'm working. And in a year from now, 5 years from now, maybe that flip flops. Maybe it's the complete opposite for you right now. But this is something that I do think that you should revisit periodically. I don't know what the right cadence is. I don't think I can prescribe one. But think about this kind of stuff because your life changes, right? Just to give you a very quick example on that. So let's pretend you're the stereotypical junior developer. You are a single, based on demographics, probably single male that's young, right? And if you're a woman, that's awesome too. But if you're at this stage in your career where you're just starting off and you're younger, perhaps you are single and you have the only maybe you don't even have school debt to pay off, or maybe that's all that you have is like I went to school and I have debt to pay off for that. Maybe your responsibilities are just that. And early on in your career, like you're hyper focused on just getting the job. But maybe what happens over time is that, like, say you're in a relationship and now it's time to start making sure you can support your family. All of a sudden, this pressure mounts where you're like, hey, like, I've been loving work, but if I'm looking at how things are going, I'm not so sure that like life is comfortable, right? Like, there's a lot of pressure to make sure that I can, support my family. And all of a sudden, now what you're valuing changes. And maybe for some people too, and I'm just trying to walk through this example so you can see some different perspectives on it. But maybe for some people, they're like, the pay is comfortable. And if I were to try and get paid more and work more, that means I have less time with my family. Right. So, one of the things that I think through with this kind of stuff in terms of like comfort level um, at a job and then comfort level at home is it's kind of like this. If you could find a job, like this is kind of in my opinion, like the peak of being able to work is like you find a job that you love doing. So you love the work, you love the people you work with, the work is interesting, you're growing. Like everything about work is like, oh man, like this feels like a rocket ship of growth and learning, and the pay is good and also feels like it's not stressful. By the way, if you can find a job like this, I mean, good. I feel like it's probably pretty rare, but I do think that it's not impossible. And there comes all the thumbs down, right? I do think that it's totally possible to find something like this. It may not happen right away. Maybe it never happens, but I think it's possible. But with that said, if that work environment also allows you to have your personal life balanced properly, where you have enough time with your family, you don't feel like it's constantly taking you away from that, then I think that that's like a good spot to be in. I think the reality for us, for most of us, most of the time, is that we don't have all of those things balanced in a way that feels perfect. And that's, I mean, it's life, so I feel like it's rare to find like a perfect balance. So what that might mean is that you're going through periods. Like I'll give you an example early in my career when I was single and didn't have like debt to pay down from school, and I was like, okay, like I don't have responsibilities. I told myself I will work, and I was being sort of compensated and rewarded for the effort I was putting in. So I had a very positive feedback loop in that regard. So the more I worked, the more I found sort of success. Or when I say success, I don't mean like put in more work and all of a sudden like dollars just start piling. I mean like I felt more accomplished. I was being compensated. Like it was just like you put in effort and good things happen. So I kept doing it. And because I didn't have other responsibilities, it didn't really matter. Like I could just do that. Um, so I like hyper focused on my career early on, like to a fault, I would say, but that's what I did. I hyper focused on it. And if I imagine myself today, like I still do a lot of focus on my career, whether that's at Microsoft or personal branding. Like the fact that it's 8:30 in the morning before work and I'm trying to make a video online so I can help other people. But this, doing this is personal branding for me, right? The fact that I'm getting in front of people and being able to share my experiences and stuff like that. Like, hopefully you're watching this and you're like, hey, this is kind of interesting. I'll come back. Or maybe some of you are already, repeat watchers and you're like, I come to watch this guy. I can, play it in the background while I'm doing stuff. Like for me, that's part of what I'm doing is personal branding for myself. So this is like work. No one's paying me for it, but so I focus on these types of things because I am trying to invest in myself. But the trade-off with doing all of this type of stuff is that it takes away from family time. It takes away from hobbies. Like I love playing video games. Guess what I'm not doing right now? I'm not playing video games. Before I was recording this, I was doing some work on Brand Ghost, which is again, it's a business. So I'm dedicating my personal time into that, not playing video games, not spending time with my wife, not spending time with the dogs and the cats. So I know that at this point in my life, I it's not wise for me to do as much sort of look as much time investment into things like business, things like work that I would have done as someone that was younger. I'm in my mid 30s now. I don't consider that old, but I mean, I don't got any hair left. I mean, it comes in, but I'm, it's by choice now. I do that on purpose. I got white in my beard. I got no hair. So I'm in my mid 30s. I've been working for a while, but when I was fresh out of university, like I could literally stay up super late programming for work and wake up early and program for work, come into work, manage teams all day, and then repeat it every day, 7 days a week. And I loved it. I cannot do that now. I cannot. Not only do I not have like the call it like the energy for that, but also like I do have other responsibilities. So these types of things change over time, and I think that you need to do that kind of introspection for yourself. So specifically, the coding lifestyle in his comment was asking thoughts on leaving a healthy team, right, for more money and growth at another company. When if I were to look at this scenario specifically, and for myself, right, I think that I am the kind of person that is, and I've talked about this before, um, probably less of a risk taker. So if I were already comfortable, healthy team, right? If I had some amount of growth, like that didn't feel like it was stalled, so like it's at least some growth, and I thought that I was being paid fairly, I would probably not personally move. And that's not necessarily my advice, but I know for myself like the the amount of change that would introduce, the amount of stress as a result of that might make me go, like it's not worth it. But what I don't know from this person's comment is like how much growth and how much compensation are we talking about? Because that could change a lot of things. So I'll give you an example. If someone, all things can, like, if all other things were equal, like, if someone came to me and said, we could double your income, I don't think I would think twice. If all the other things were equal and it just meant, hey, you're going to have to change jobs. Hey, it's going to be ramp up time again because it's a new domain, new team, new stuff. If someone told me we can double your income, and I mean, obviously, this is a very contrived hypothetical situation, so go along with me for a moment. But if everything else were equal, right? So the growth that I would have at whatever other team or company would be the same. The domain in terms of difficulty, complexity would be the same, but I have to kind of start over and ramp up. If it meant twice the income and I'm working the same amount, I would go do that 100%. Now, if you change this scale, again, let's keep all the other variables the same. If someone said it's 50% more, I'm probably not thinking twice, right? 25% more, probably not thinking twice. But once we start like let's go the other direction. If someone said 2% more, no. The overhead, the activation energy for me to go, okay, like I'm switching my frame of mind. It's going to be a new domain for me. I have to go through this learning process. Not worth it. 5% more, probably not. 10% more, like I don't actually know what my percent number is. All the other variables considered. So again, when I'm looking at this question, I'm trying to see if I fix a couple of variables here. I don't know what my percent number is. I have no idea. But like I should like if I take my own advice, I should go through this exercise because the reality is like I love working for Microsoft. But if tomorrow someone put an offer in front of me and said we could double, like, and obviously I can't just like trust this blindly, but I hope you get where I'm going with this. If someone could say, "Hey, look," and even if it was Microsoft, right? If another team in Microsoft said, "We can double your income," I'm like, I should probably take that opportunity. But here's the thing, like, I'm giving you a very contrived scenario, right? So I'm saying we're going to fix the other variables. That's not realistic. There's no guarantee. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges with this kind of stuff is like the you could see that right now for the coding lifestyle in his question, on a healthy team, I don't know in this context when it says for more money, is the money that you're getting already good? If it's already really good, let's pretend it's really good right now. On a healthy team getting paid really well, and there's some reasonable amount of growth that they feel good about. For me, the thought I would have is, am I risking going somewhere else where I'm not going to enjoy work? And is that risk sort of less of an impact, or can I tolerate that risk given that X amount of money I would be getting more and perceived growth opportunity more, again, there's risk to that, is going to sort of allow me to change my lifestyle that I'm like everything else is okay still. Because for some people, the extra money might mean I have less stress outside of work, right? Depends on the amount of money. I'm just going to give you an example. Some people might say month to month, I feel like I have a lot of stress trying to pay the mortgage or the car loan. Come up with whatever bills you might have, right? And if that is contributing a lot of stress on a regular basis, I don't know what the number needs to be, but if someone said, here's an extra $2,000 a month, and now you're in your head, you're going, okay, like if I had an extra $2,000 a month, we're not talking pre, post tax, whatever. Imagine $2,000 in your pocket, you can go do whatever you need with. So post tax. Imagine you have that and you're going, okay, like I don't have to stress about the mortgage now. Like if that is a significant amount of stress that's in your life, and it's worth taking on a potential risk that maybe the next team you go to is a little bit more stressful, then maybe it's worth it because overall the net value, like the net impact on your quality of life is better. But again, we can't guarantee that. We don't know that. Maybe, again, let's take this example. You're like, cool, now I've gotten rid of my mortgage stress. So this extra stress that I've been carrying with me I don't know if it's every day you feel it, whatever, but carrying with me outside of work. And now I'm at work and every day feels super stressful and awful. Like maybe that's not worth it because maybe that's like 8 hours a day every day. Now maybe it's also on weekends or something because you're stressing so much about work. And you're like, man, it was actually less terrible to be stressing about the mortgage that I seem to be able to pay anyway every month. So I think these are the types of things, like these thought exercises, that people should be going through. Um, I know I get this from my wife that I basically go through a lot of scenarios in my head trying to look for like the worst case scenarios. Um, and this is the type of thing that I do, right? Like I like to go say, okay, let's pretend I'm going to go onto this team and I will play out all these different scenarios. And basically, if I only see, like, say every bad scenario that I can think of is still good in the end, then like it's probably like for me, it's probably a great decision then. If there's only a couple of like potentially bad scenarios and they seem like a very low likelihood, it's probably a good decision that I would make. But if I'm starting to notice like, hey, look, like I have like a 50-50 chance of this being better based on what I'm seeing, like I don't know if I would take that. I would need to dig in more and try to figure that out. So, I think some things I've heard about this kind of stuff anecdotally from other people is like, and this is just me. This is not my opinion. This is literally things that I have heard. I have heard more often than not that people that left a company that they felt pretty good at but were promised more money, either boomeranged back. So they were getting more money and they're like, oh man, like I don't think so. And then we're able to somehow get an offer back and come back, maybe for maybe making more money than they were making originally, but perhaps less money than the company they switched to. They boomerang back because they're like, wasn't worth it. But I have heard this more often than not. And if it's not a boomerang back, it's like, I tried this other job out for a bit. Not great. Without mentioning names, there's an individual I know that I used to work with that went to a company. Again, in this case, my goodness. In this case, if we're thinking about this example, right? They were on a healthy team, let's call it. They might have been starting to feel like growth opportunity wise, maybe feeling stagnant. So okay, good thing to say. Maybe there's something else out there for me. Um, Pay wise, what they would have been getting was, I assume, greater. I don't know that for a fact, but I am pretty confident greater. So they're going to be getting paid more. They have this potential for more growth in their role. And then basically, what I've been hearing from them consistently for quite a while now is, this is terrible. I can't believe that I'm stuck in this position. I hate it. So again, I'm not trying to tell you like, hey, it's always going to be bad. I'm just telling you like, here's one scenario where someone was looking at an opportunity like this and it didn't work out. Now, what does that mean, right? So my advice to this person was like, if you're not happy there, if you are trying to sort of influence the change that you would want to see for it to be better, if that's what you're trying to do and it's not going anywhere, I mean, I think you have your answer. If you don't think that it's worth putting the time into, I also think you have your answer. But I would say, if you're putting in some effort to try and drive the change that you need to see and it is improving, maybe it's just a matter of like, you needed to kind of put something forward, and the, either your manager or the situation can improve, and that's great. Maybe you keep putting in that energy and things change and things improve, and that's great, and you can stay. But ultimately, it's like, I would say, people, going back to this original question, we need to like, I don't want to say constantly, periodically, some interval, some cadence that's good for you, reflect on our situations and say, like, am I content with this? I If I could give myself advice, it would be to be less comfortable, I think. And that's because if I reflect on my career, any time that I've been put in, and I've talked about this a ton, any time I've been put into a situation that's uncomfortable, in terms of like, oh, this feels risky, or I don't know what I'm doing anymore, or whatever. Every single time, lots of great growth in terms of my career, in terms of my learning and understanding. So, um, if I were to listen to that, I should be saying, hey, Nick, every time that you're feeling like very comfortable, it's like you're probably already missing out on some other opportunity. So it feels kind of weird to say, because I think that as humans, we're always trying to look for this place of comfort. Um, there's probably some, I don't know, some slick saying that I could put together, or someone's already said about like, growth is not where there's comfort. I don't know. I'm not good at this stuff. But I think that if I could give myself some advice, it would be to be less conservative in some of my choices and stuff like that. So a little bit more risk, I think, would have been and will be more beneficial for me. But um, it's hard, right? It's hard when you start becoming comfortable. Like I love the team I work with. I work in a very interesting space. I get paid well. It would be very difficult. Like the example I was giving you, like someone could double my income. Like, okay, I don't see that like, falling out of the sky and landing on my lap. So it needs to be pretty significant to get me out of my comfort zone. But maybe, I guess what I'm trying to say is, maybe it shouldn't be like that. Maybe I should be like, an extra 5%, great. Like, and that's a whole new other learning opportunity in a different domain. Maybe I should be going to do that. Even if, let's say, the pay was the same. maybe it is worth going to these other spaces and being like, okay, this is going to be a really difficult learning opportunity, but I know every time I do this, I am going to learn and grow and it's going to be awesome. So I think everyone has to figure out that right balance for themselves. I know, like I was saying for myself, I should probably take a little bit more risk in that regard. Um, and I think that I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I could do those types of things. Maybe not everyone is, and that's okay. Um, but I think this is a very personalized thing that people need to reflect on. So, the coding lifestyle, for your question specifically, um, I would say do this analysis for yourself, right? Um, Something that's important to acknowledge too is like if you were to leave your healthy team for more money, for more growth opportunities, if that doesn't work out, that's not that's not the end of the road, right? It's not like there's no more opportunities. It's not like you'll never find success or happiness or balance again. These are things that we can continue to look for. And maybe the next time it doesn't even happen, but that doesn't mean that it's never going to happen, right? So uh, I think the most dangerous part here is being complacent in a spot where you're not uh, on a healthy team, not getting growth, and not being paid well. I think periods of time where you're not getting some of these things, not great, but like kind of part of the journey. And then trying to look at your current state and saying, hey, based on the quality of life that I would like to have, do I feel like I'm getting enough growth? Do I feel like I'm being paid fairly? And do I feel like I am sort of enjoying or like my stress level is sort of at the right level? And if you're feeling like these one of these things is lacking or multiple are lacking, it's probably probably a good sign to say I got to do something about this. And you might have other factors that you want to consider too. So keep that in mind. Keep doing this reflection, and I think that just try not to be too comfortable and accept that like things can't change because things won't change unless you drive the change. So I hope that's helpful. I think that's all I got for today on this topic. I love this question though. I wish I could sit here and just say, oh, the answer is simple, but I think it's so situational. So I try to give you my perspective on it. I hope when I give you my perspective, I don't want you to say, oh, that's what Nick would do. Therefore, cool. I want you to think about the questions I'm asking myself, why I'm asking them, and that way you can change that for your own situation. Like, what do you actually value? What is your current situation? And keep in mind that's going to change over time. So I think that's it. I'll put this one out. This will go out. Today is Thursday, so I'll put this out for tomorrow morning. Maybe you can listen to it on your drive to work. But if you're hearing what I'm saying right now, maybe you're already done your drive to work. So it's kind of a weird thing to say. But yeah, live stream I will try to do on Monday, the 23rd at 7 p.m. Pacific. That is on my Dev Leader YouTube channel, so do check that out. If you're curious, I know newsletters are not for everyone. Believe me, I understand that. As a content creator, I know there's different formats of content that people either love or they want nothing to do with. But if you want to tune into the live stream on Dev Leader, I have a newsletter that will go out on Saturday. And 95% of the time, my Saturday newsletter will be the topic for the live stream. So something to keep in mind. You don't even have to subscribe to the newsletter if you want to check out the live stream and you want to follow along with something that's kind of like a written format of it. Definitely it's weekly.devleader.ca. It's DevLeader Weekly. Check that out. Like I said, it's free. You don't have to even subscribe because you can just look at the latest article. It's totally fine. And yeah, I try to make sure I spend those live streams spending more time answering questions. If no one's got questions in the chat, I'll keep blabbing just like I'm doing right now. If people have questions, I like to wrap up my thought, answer the questions in the chat. If the chat was super active and I couldn't even talk through my newsletter, that's the best situation in my opinion. And it's been really cool. There's been I think there's been more people from Code Commute. So you guys coming over to the Dev Leader live stream, and it's been really fun to hear from you. People kind of laughing at how I, get angry at traffic and stuff like that. So you get to see some of the real me. So thanks for being here. And a reminder, submit your questions and stuff. I'm happy to go through them. So take care, and I'll see you next time.